Today's my first prenatal visit. That's why I look so crazy. Thankfully today was actually the first day in like a week and a half that I didn't throw up in the morning, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. When I was pregnant with Alani, I didn't get any of these symptoms. I wasn't feeling sick. I wasn't, you know, I was just scared to get my ass whooped. So maybe like either my body was just like, you know, every pregnancy could be different. I don't know what it is. I didn't get any type of symptoms, but that's it. This one is really kicking my ass, and I'm only like almost 8 weeks. But yeah, that's just how I'm feeling. I'm here at the building. I'm just gonna look for parking. Yeah, all I care about, people keep asking me, you want it to be a boy or a girl or this, that. Honestly, I just want this kid to be healthy. That's all I care about. I don't care if it's a boy, girl. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to find out right now. I just want to make sure that the baby is safe, growing correctly, you know, what I need to do, what should I avoid. I'm trying to do everything right this time around, because you already know with Alani, I was just I did everything wrong. I avoided all medical care for 6 months, and even though she came out healthy and, you know, perfect, nothing was wrong with her, I don't want to take risks, obviously. So yeah, where the fuck is the parking? I'm gonna be going, and I'll let you guys know how it is when I get back. Holy I was literally just saying, so that explains why I'm like having really bad morning sickness. And they're like, yeah, you're having like people who are pregnant with twins. Oh my god, what the people who are pregnant with twins I need to like go home and drink water or something and eat, because like now I'm eating for 3. I'm scared. Okay, let me go because there's people passing by. Like, is this bitch okay? But I have to go home. I have another surprise for you.
What?
They're gonna be twins.
What?
There's 2 babies.
What? What? So
you see those 2 little rings? You said they look like a pig nose?
Wait.
Those are 2 babies.
Wait, so they were laying together?
Yeah.
The whole time? Oh my god. So if I have 2 brothers, I'm sure everything's gonna be different in my life.
Yeah.
If I have 2 brothers. So we don't know if they're gonna be sister, bro, or brother and sisters, or sister and sister. Mommy, you still call me baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still my baby.
Yeah.
Now look in the camera and tell me what you want to say to your 2 little siblings.
I hope you both grow up, because I once said I hope you grow up. I hope you both grow up, and you both go to the same school as me, because I love you both.
Yeah, well, so I've been meaning to tell you, I wanted to wait till I got my ultrasound.
Yeah.
But I went and I got my ultrasound today, and
it's a baby.
Babies.
What?
Twins.
No.
Look.
What's that?
There's 2 sacks.
Oh my god.
Isn't that crazy?
What are their names if they're boys?
Oh, I don't know. We don't know
What
anything
if
yet.
you have twin boys?
So if I have 2 brothers, I'm sure everything's gonna be different in my life.
Yeah.
If I have 2 brothers.
I know it's been a very long time since I made a video, and if you keep up with me on social media, then you probably know why. I've been kind of taking a break from posting things. I've been really occupied in regards to my pregnancy. So yeah, this title of this might be a very big shocker to some people who just you know, have subscribed to me on here. You know, you don't really keep up with social media, don't have social media like that. But yes, I am pregnant with twins. They're identical twins to be exact. And the reason I've been taking a break is because we've ran into some complications in this pregnancy. And for a while I wasn't even able to just pick up my phone and be on my phone for a while because a lot of things were just happening, which I'll get into later on in this video. But right now, you know, I'm feeling like I'm in a little bit of a better place, so I wanted to just make a video, do an update you guys, because, you know, even though we're going through a lot of things, you know, me and my family, it's unfair to keep you guys like not updated, because I share a lot of things with you. A lot of people have been asking me, oh, when are you gonna do your gender reveal? So I wanted to just answer all those questions and kind of show you guys this journey. This is going to be a lighthearted video, and then I'll kind of get into what the complications are, what we're facing towards the end of this video. But you know, it's a new day. You know, we have more information to work with now, and the best thing that we could do is just stay positive. So I want to tell you guys how I found out I was pregnant. So June 18th 2019 was the day that my life just completely changed, like drastically. I went to my first OB appointment. As you guys know, I found out towards the end of May that we were expecting, and I wanted to schedule that OB appointment, just make sure everything's okay, make sure the baby's fine, make sure first of all there is a baby in there, and that's what my appointment was for. I initially set the appointment for the 17th, which was on Lonnie's birthday, but because we were planning a bunch of stuff that day, you know, going back and forth, picking up stuff, I just scheduled it for the day after. So because of this reason, my niece was sleeping over for Lonnie's birthday, and we had both of the kids, and I just told my boyfriend, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the ultrasound appointment. It's just gonna be, you know, like a little wellness check, you know, just establishing like what to do from now, set up appointments and blah blah blah. So I ended up going alone, and so I go to my OB appointment, meet him for the first time. Everything's fine. He's, you know, asking me questions. How are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm okay, but I just have like really bad morning sickness, and it's just crazy because I never had it like with my previous pregnancy, so it's just new to me. So I'm over here just like, we're just chatting and stuff. He's like, oh yeah, like a lot of women experience morning sickness, and it's gonna be the worst during your first trimester. Second trimester it'll ease up a bit, all this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, this and this. And he does like a pap smear and stuff like that for me. And then after that, many women who have gone, well, I mean, I don't know when they stop doing it, but I just know once you go to your OB appointment, if the fetus is too small, or if your weeks are too small, like you're like 8, 7, 8, 10 weeks, they actually do a transvaginal instead of the ultrasound on top of your stomach, which is basically like kind of like a rod, and they'll stick it in there, and they'll see the baby through there. It's another form of ultrasound. So they do that, and you know, doctor's talking to me. He's really cool, and the nurse is there too. She's really cool as well. They're just talking, you know, chatting and stuff. And then he's doing the ultrasound, and he's going through it. He's going through me, and he's looking around, and he goes, and for some reason I just got very pessimistic, and I was like, oh no, like no doctor just says so in the tone that he said, it was kind of like like something's wrong. I immediately thought that, so I turned away. They were like on my right side, so I just turned away, and I was like, man, like damn, maybe there's no baby in there. Like I'm just thinking about all these things. I'm like, oh, I probably came here, there's no baby. Like I was getting false positives and all this stuff, and I'm just like overthinking it, right? So I can hear him talking to the nurse, and he's like, do you see what I see? And she's like, yeah, I do. Formal. And I was like, oh god, like they don't see shit. Like that's my first thought, like maybe they don't see anything, and I'm just thinking like the worst. So he's like, Asia, look at this. And then, you know, I look at the ultrasound, and I'm like, oh nice. Like I don't know how to read an ultrasound, didn't go to school for that. And it's very early on, so all you could see is just like their sac at this point. It's just like a little ring, like a little Funyun, and I'm like, oh great, like so cute. Don't know what I'm looking at. And he starts playing the heartbeat, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's what you're talking about. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you could hear the heartbeat this early. And he was like, yeah. He's like, but that's not what we're talking about. He's like, you don't see what we're seeing? And I'm like, no, like the heartbeat. And then he looks at the nurse again, and he's like, you see what I'm seeing? And at this point, she's just like chuckling. She's like, I see what you're seeing. And I'm like, are they making fun of my kid? Like, why are they laughing? Like, what's the big idea? So he plays the heartbeat again, and he goes 160, or he goes 140. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then the other one, he goes like 120. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, damn, it's fluctuating. Like, I didn't know that could happen. Like, it's just not clicking at this point. I'm just like, oh wow, like, don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, you still don't know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I don't know, sir. Like, just tell me. Like, is there something wrong? Like, should I be concerned or should I be happy? I don't know right now. So he's like, those are 2 separate heartbeats. And I'm like, this baby got 2 hearts. Like, the twin is like the last thing. Like, I'm telling you guys, that was the last thing I would have thought going into that appointment, was that they were gonna tell me that I was having twins. So I'm like what? I knew what he was saying, but my mind was like, nah, like, you don't have any twins in your family. This is before I knew anything about twins and how they could be conceived and stuff. I was like, there's no twins in my family. Like, that's impossible. And he was like, congratulations, you're having twins. And the nurse is laughing. She's like, congratulations, oh my god, we love having twins at this clinic. I was like, so like, you know when you're watching a movie and the main characters like focus on something, but people are talking to them and it's kind of like just like blurred out and they're just focused on one thing? That was me with the ceiling. I was like staring at the ceiling, and everything, all the audio was just kind of like drained out, and I was like in my head like, did they just say twins? I didn't even know how to feel. I felt like I was gonna faint. Like, I was getting like lightheaded almost. And I just got like this like rush of like adrenaline, I felt like. And they were just speaking like it was just like a whatever thing, because it is like a whatever thing to like people who freaking work with pregnant women all the time. So they probably see twins, you know, like around the clock. But for me, I was telling them, I was like, no, this can't be true. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, there's no twins in my family. Like, no, I don't think, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. They're like, we don't know what to tell you. Like, you have twins. I was just like, what? Like, in the moment, I wasn't in denial. It was just like, oh, maybe a little bit in denial. I was just like, not in a bad way. I was just so like taken off guard. I was like, what? Like, twins, dude? Twins. Yeah, they're just basically like, all right, you're all good to go. Just stop by the blood work, like stop by the lab so they could take your blood. And I'm over here like, oh my god, like, it was just so quick. They're just like, yep, you have twins, all right, bye. Like, no girl, after this I needed counseling. Like, I needed to talk to someone about it. So I'm like walking out, and as I'm walking out, you could just hear like clink, 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 clink. I'm holding my bag and my keys, and I'm just like shaking. Like, both my hands are like shaking, my knees, everything is shaking. And I sit down. I remember I go to the lab. It's just this little area before you leave the clinic. And I'm sitting down, and the lady's asking me my name. My voice isn't quivering, but my hands, my arms, my legs, my feet, I'm short, so like my feet aren't even touching the ground. I'm real little, so I'm like shaking. And the lady, she's like, does a double take, and she's like, oh my god, she's like, you're shaking. She's like, are you okay? She's like, first time mom? And I was like, yeah, to twins. And she was like, oh my god, she was like, oh, you need a hug. So she hugged me. She's like, I'm gonna take your blood once you stop shaking a little bit. I was like shaking, girl. She was really cool. She was like, double the diapers, double the this, double the headache. And I'm just like, I'm about to faint. Like, it's not even from you taking this blood. I'm just like, the situation's just about, like, I'm lightheaded. So I leave. I'm like going down the elevator, like, should I be crying right now? Like, oh my god, like, this is such like, this is so crazy. And I remember I lost my car because it was my first time at this building, and both sides of the building looked the same. So I exited through the back, but I parked in the front. So I got lost for like 5 minutes, and I finally found my car, and then I recuperated, and I was like, now let's go back to what I just got told like 10 minutes ago. And I'm sitting in my car. I sit in my car for about 30 minutes, which you see in the footage. I sit in my car for about 30 minutes, And I'm just like, dude, twins? Like, how did I get blessed with twins? That is so freaking crazy. That's just like, imagine, you know, I'm just going in there completely like, oh yeah, just making sure there's a baby in there, and then they're like, oh yeah, we got two. So I'm like freaking out at this point, and I'm just like, how am I gonna tell my boyfriend this? Like, how am I, not like, oh my god, how am I gonna tell him? He's not gonna, but I'm just like, how am I gonna approach him? And I'm like, how am I gonna be like, dude, like, you should have came to this appointment because we got some big news. Like, I wish he would have came so I could see his face. But anyway, I got home finally after like 30 minutes of me like thinking like, oh my gosh, like twins, like how could this happen? Like what are even, like, who has twins in this family? Like, I'm gonna go interrogate him when I get home and ask exactly like every single person down his bloodline, in his family tree, brothers, sisters, cousins, like who has twins in this family that gave it to us. And so yeah, I get home and I tell him, and I'm like, I sit at the edge of the bed, and I stand at the edge of the bed, he's sitting on the bed, and I'm like, so I go, and by this time, like, he probably thinks that something's really wrong because like I'm like, my voice is quivering, I'm out of breath. Well, we live on the second floor, so I'm like, there's a little too many steps, so I'm out of breath first, and my voice is quivering. I'm like, have tears in my eyes, and I'm like, so they go to look for the heartbeat, and everything looked fine, like the heartbeat is fine, but there were 2 heartbeats. And then he's like, no way. And I'm like, they're twins. He's like, no way. It was just so funny. He was just like in shock. Like, I couldn't imagine his face being there. Oh man, I wish that the circumstances were different. I wish that he would have been able to come, because he comes to my appointments now. He comes to all my appointments. I'm like, damn, I wish he would have been to that one. It would have been so funny to see his face. But we're just like both there like, dude. And then we kind of just like what? And I'm like, who has twins in your family? So at this point, I also wanted to go to the ultrasound appointment so I can, you know, get my ultrasounds and tell my immediate family. So later that day is when we ended up telling our immediate family that we were expecting. And it's crazy because nobody thought we were going to be having kids, but nobody would have thought that we'd been having twins. So, you know, saying, oh, hey, just wanted to let you know that we're actually pregnant. And they're like all excited and stuff like that. And then we're like, yeah, but that's not it. Like, we're actually expecting twins. Like, it was just like a double whammy. And that day was so funny because we were just like, what the hell? I was like, what did you do to me? Like, I'm looking at my boyfriend like, what did you do? Like, what did you do to me that this is happening? Like, that is so crazy. And I remember my sister-in-law, she like called me and she's like, I'm gonna kick both of you guys' asses. She was like, Edgar says that you guys are pregnant with twins. And she didn't believe him because like, who would have thought? And I was like, no, dude, like, I'm so, like, we're serious. And we like sent, I think we sent her the ultrasound pictures, which at this point they just look like 2 little rings. And you know, when they were telling me at the ultrasound, like, oh, do you see that? Oh, you see what's on the ultrasound? I'm like, no, like, I see 2 blobs, but how am I supposed to know that's a baby? They just look like 2 rings. Maybe that's the eyes. And so we kept going to doctor's appointments. And yeah, that's how I found out that I was pregnant with twins. There were signs though that indicated that I would be having twins, but I would never have put it together because that was the last thing that I would ever think that I would be pregnant with. I would think that I'd be pregnant with an alien before I had a set of twins, and identical at that point, at that too. So just a few signs that showed that, like, yes, oh, it makes sense now. Like, after I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh, it clicks now. Every time I would take a pregnancy test, like even at clinics, I noticed that the line would show up like immediately, like right before, like, what is it, like 3 minutes or something like that. The first time I took it, when I did the live footage, I think it took some time. But every pregnancy test I took after that was like bam, 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 bam. Everything was like, line is like straight there. And when I went to a clinic, someone even pointed out too, like, oh, that was quick. And, you know, never thought anything about it. I just thought I was super pregnant. Like, I don't know, it was just like, yeah, you're for sure pregnant. But now I know it's because when you're pregnant with multiples, you have elevated levels of HCG, which is the pregnancy hormone. And so like girl, you're big pregnant. Like you are super pregnant. And so that was an indicator. The really severe morning, afternoon, night sickness that made me lose 15 pounds. I know every pregnancy is different, so even like if this pregnancy was just like a singleton pregnancy and I was just pregnant with one baby, I probably could have still had morning sickness, but we'll never know. Because I know when I had Alani, I didn't have any symptoms. So yeah, that. And what else were the symptoms? Everything just started, I kind of knew, like found out that I was having twins pretty early, so there weren't many signs that I was you know, looking for, could have really looked out for. But after I found out, just like what I've been experiencing as being like a twin parent or being pregnant with twins, is that you get every single pregnancy symptom regardless of the trimester. Like in my first trimester, it's gonna be very like out there, but my boobs were really swollen, my boobs hurt, like nipples are so sore, like I couldn't get cold, it would like hurt. Just all the pregnancy symptoms like that you can think of, like the back pain, like everything, which it could be with like singleton pregnancies too, but I'm over here researching like multiple pregnancies, like what are the symptoms. So I experienced all that good stuff. And then yeah, so that's how I found out that I was pregnant with twins. It was crazy, telling everyone and their responses, and I didn't want to hide the fact that I was carrying twins. The reason why it took until now to actually put up a video and like a few weeks ago to actually announce it to the public and stuff, and you know, maybe people, even some of my friends didn't know. So it took me a while, because at my first OB appointment, before I walked out of the room and did my lab work, they noticed that you know, they labeled twin A and twin B. Twin A was a bit smaller than their sibling, and they told me, you know, oftentimes when this happens, either they're just, you know, trying to catch up and grow, and they didn't know what type of twins they were at this point. They didn't know if they were fraternal twins, they didn't know if they're identical twins, they didn't know if they were mono-di, they didn't know if they were mono. It was just all these different crazy terms. So they're like, we don't know yet, but what could happen is one of them is maybe trying to catch up, or we think that the little one is going to demise within the next week or two, and it's called like vanishing twin syndrome. That's what they thought was gonna happen. So they're like, don't be surprised if, you know, you come back and maybe the little one's not here, but we never know. So that's why when I finally did decide to announce my pregnancy, I announced it as a singleton pregnancy, because I didn't know what the course of this pregnancy would be. Fast forward, this is where our complications start. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I go to see a specialist like every week, every 2 weeks, because of something having to do with my placenta. That's what I said. And at first, all that meant to me was me trying to hide the fact that I'm carrying twins, and I said, you guys are gonna find out really soon, because I was gonna do my gender reveal and all that stuff and reveal it then. So issues that I had with my placenta were, to me at that point, were just having 2 fetuses in my one placenta. So that's what I meant. But then, you know, skip forward, I'm going to all these appointments, and now I'm going to later my first trimester, you know, approaching the second trimester, and baby A's still here. They're saying, oh, this baby's growing so well. This baby, the measurements are all like fine, it's just smaller, you know, we don't see any abnormalities, you know, everything looks fine. So then they start to believe, you know, we think like, you know, everything looks fine now. We don't have any concerns other than the fact that the baby is about a week behind from its sibling, about like 6 days behind. First it was like 5 and then became 6. Now it's like stayed at 6. It's about 6 days behind, which is not common. It's not common for a healthy pregnancy for an identical twin to be so much smaller than its twin without there being some type of condition going on that you don't know about yet. So they explained to me that, you know, we could be seeing a twin-to-twin transfusion, which is when one baby, I forget, there's like a donor and there's another type of baby. It means that one baby is taking all the nutrients and all that stuff, all the blood from one twin, and one of the other twins are getting like supplemented. So it could be bad for both of them. You know, one is very small, one is just kind of weak, you know, it's not getting enough, and the other one's getting too much. So there's an imbalance there. So that's what they said. They're like, it could be that, but at this point, like, their fluids look good. You know, we don't see anything like that happening, so we just don't know. Maybe it's just gonna catch up later on. We never know what's gonna happen. But me being the most researching ass person ever, I was always on Google, always like on blogs and stuff, like identical twins, like one smaller than the other, and everyone's like, yeah, we had TCTS, or we had this, and I'm like, there has to be some like underlying issue that they're not telling us. But this baby is like growing fine, and it looks fine, and it moves around, and the heartbeats are the exact same. They'll both be like 160, 170, very high, very good. Like, what's the issue? And you know, we got into this mindset of, okay, maybe there is no issue, or maybe we'll catch it later down the line, and you know, everything will be okay, because they set that standard for us. Like, not a standard, but they set the expectation, like, oh, we don't see anything wrong. Even in my second trimester, when I'm already big, and they're telling me like, oh yeah, we don't see anything wrong, like no signs of TTTS, like everything looks cool. So we're like, okay, like maybe, you know, we're just gonna have a smaller baby. We're not professionals, we don't know. So we're thinking, okay, now I feel comfortable to let people finally know, because I was never trying to hide it. I was never like, oh yeah, it's gonna be good and juicy for YouTube. Like, I never thought that at all. I was just trying to be smart about it. And yeah, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reveal it at my gender reveal. So come to the time where I'm supposed to, you know, find out my gender, find out the sex of the baby. My boyfriend already knew, my sister already knew. I think I waited like a week and a half to find out. We're gonna go to Florida and stuff like that. So in my other video, we're gonna go to Florida. We had like this nice like beach gender reveal like thing that we were gonna do. It's gonna be really nice. So this was the day, technically the day I was supposed to leave, because we were supposed to leave at night, like the day before, I guess. So this was my last ultrasound appointment before the trip. And you know, of course I wanted to go to this appointment. I go to every single appointment. I have never rescheduled an appointment. I've gone to every single appointment. And so I go, and I'm like, I like that it's right before I have to leave, because I'm planning on doing, you know, fun things, going on a boat, doing all that. I just want to make sure that everything's okay, which up until then, everything had been fine. You know, oh, the baby's still small, but you know, that baby's a fighter, that baby's still here. We didn't even think he was going to make it past this like 9 weeks, and we're over here at like 18 weeks. So yeah, I go to my appointment, you know, everything's fine. I get really into like what the ultrasound technicians like write, and you know, what they put down. I'm very like observant, and I don't just go to my appointments and like lay down, even though I want to, because they're long, because I have twins. They usually take like 30-40 minutes on each fetus, but I sit there and I look and I see like what's the difference. Like, I want to know. Even like if they can't tell me, I want to know, and I want to see, and I can Google it later maybe, and like, I don't know, I just need to know. I need more answers. So we're at this appointment, and I made the mistake of taking Alani to this appointment, because you know, she was home, and it was still during the summertime, so she was just home, and I'm like, you know what, let's get out the house. Like, you know, I feel like you want to see your siblings. I do want to see your siblings. We didn't know the sex of the babies, so I was just like, yeah, we're gonna see your siblings. You could see that, ooh, excuse me, you could see them move around and stuff like that, because these babies are very active. So I took her to the appointment, and you know, they're doing the ultrasound. Every time I go, I usually have like different ultrasound techs, because it's at my specialist office, so there's like one doctor and then different ultrasound techs like doing the work, and then he goes, he diagnoses you, and or he talks to you about whatever they saw. So she was super nice. The ultrasound tech was nice. I had never had her before, and she was over there talking to Alani like, yeah, this is your sibling's head and the fingers and, you know, the arm and all that stuff. And Alani was just having like the time of her life. She was just like, oh my gosh, she had so many questions, and the lady was super nice. She was answering all her questions. I saw that with one twin she put 2 UA, and then when she got to the other twin she put SUA. And before, you know, ultrasound techs can tell you anything. If they see anything abnormal, they won't say anything. They let the doctor know, and the doctor has to tell you. This was the very first time that I heard the ultrasound tech typing something that I couldn't see on the screen. So she was making a note that I wasn't able to see, and that was the first time that had ever happened. And you know, like I said, I'm very attentive. Like I see those types of things, and I overthink. So I laid back for the rest of this visit, and you know, my eyes started to water a little bit because I just felt that something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. Like, another reason why I was feeling that way was because when she got to the little twin, she kind of got quiet, and then she was doing those notes and all that stuff. So I already put me in this mood. Not that she owed anything to me, not that she had to be super, like, you know, she's doing her job. It was just that I noticed. And so before you go see the doctor, they kind of sit you in a little waiting area. So I went to go to the bathroom. Well, I went to take Alani to the bathroom, and immediately I was researching, what is a 2 UA, what's an SUA, like, what does that mean? And it popped up on my phone. It was like something about the arteries, but I could not understand what it meant. So I was like, whatever, like, I'm gonna see the doctor, he'll explain to me, and I'm gonna bring it up too if he doesn't ask, if he doesn't say anything, because that's what I noticed. And I remember coming back in, and the ultrasound tech immediately being right there, like in the lobby, and she was like, oh hey Aisha, could I actually pull you in again to do another ultrasound, because your doctor wants to check the Dopplers on the babies, like check the blood flow of the babies and their cords. She was like, oh yeah, you're kind of early in your pregnancy to be getting this type of, you know, Doppler thing or whatever. She's like, so we're gonna try to get as many like results as possible. We're gonna see if we could get any results. So I was like, okay. And of course, you know, me like paying attention to everything, she does the big twin B's blood flow, and you know, it's just perfect, going up and down, and it's high. And then I see her do twin A's, and she's having a hard time like looking for it, and she finally gets it, and it's low. And you know, I'm reading to the side, like I always read to the side like what the numbers are, or how many beats per minute, or what it is, you know, what the flow is. So she takes it, and it just doesn't look like it's twins Doppler, and that's what I noticed. And so, you know, she sent me, I was like, okay, you know, maybe just try to stay hopeful, maybe it's just, you know, because one's smaller, like I don't know what it is. But I finally see the doctor, like immediately he saw me. You usually have to wait, like I said, he saw me immediately after she took those Dopplers. She walked me into his room, and they sat me down, and he's a very straightforward doctor. He's not very sympathetic. He's not very like, and I like that, but in this situation it was just a lot. And you know, I'm still very respectful, still think he's a very great doctor, would recommend him. But if you're looking for someone who is going to help you in moments like this, he's probably not the best deliverer of the news. So I sit down and he was like, so baby A, I thought was getting better, but it's actually getting way worse. And I was like, okay. And then there's just a long pause and he's like texting on his phone and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, so what's worse? And he's like, well, it looks like, you know, the blood flow in baby B's is good, and the SUA and 2UA is 2UA is 2 umbilical arteries, which is what is like standard, is usually found in fetuses, usually have 2 arteries, and that's what baby B had, the bigger one. And the smaller one had SUA, which is singular umbilical artery. So only had 1. And you know, it's not too crazy. It's not like oh, this is like alarming or stuff like that. It's just something to be noted, I guess. But that wasn't really the issue. It was the fact that his blood flow was very low, and it was I do so much research, and I think it's reversed flow. So it'll go up and then there'll be a pause, and sometimes it'll go under the line and then it'll go up, and sometimes there'll be a pause, sometimes it goes under. I think that's what it is. So he was just talking to me. At this point, I don't know anything, because last week when I saw you, you said everything looked perfect, and then now that I see you, like, you do this scan, and now it's like, no, this baby's gonna demise. He told me that this baby could demise today. This baby could demise as soon as tomorrow, as soon as right now, you know, like as soon as you leave. And he's scaring the shit out of me, and he's like, I'm texting these people at this fetal center because I need you to see them. And mind you, I'm supposed to go to Florida, leave that night and go to Florida. So those plans are completely out of my head. And I'm like, okay, like, how soon should I go? He's like, I need you there by tomorrow. And so he's telling me all this stuff, lays down all these things, like, yeah, you're probably gonna have to let this little one go. There's this procedure called the selective reduction. That's probably what they're gonna offer you. That's your best bet, because this baby's just going to deteriorate and there's no getting better. It's just gonna downhill from here, and the other one's gonna have a, like, you know, neurological issues. And this is just so much shit being thrown at me. And Alani's right here next to me, and I'm over here trying to distract her, like, hey, do you want to watch something on Netflix? Like, here, listen to this. Oh, put it close to your face so you could hear it. And I'm over here, like, trying to fight back tears, but also trying to, like, you know, get her to, like, not hear what he's saying. So she's just there, and then I get all this information, and I just felt so bad because this is her first appointment, and I thought it was going to be, you know, just her seeing her siblings, but we ended up getting really bad news. And the words that he was using was like die and like all this stuff. So she heard it, and but she didn't seem like she did, because, you know, she was on the phone and stuff like that. So she kept quiet. And he was like, I'm gonna send you to the ultrasound one more time, and I had to wait for like 30 minutes. He was like, I'm gonna send you to the ultrasound tech one more time so she can check your cervix. I don't know what for, maybe to see if I'm dilated, or I don't know what it is. They're just taking measurements. So I'm sitting outside waiting for this ultrasound tech to come outside, and Alani's with me. She has my phone, and I'm just so, like, just trying so hard to fight back tears. And, you know, I throw them back. Like, whenever I feel like I'm gonna cry, I'm just like, all right, like, what are you watching, Alani? You know, just trying to be occupied. I waited for like 30 minutes, and then you know, I'm thinking, and then I need to tell my sister, like, oh shit, like, I can't even go to Florida anymore. Like, I'm not gonna risk it. I'm going to any doctor that I'll go right now if they need me to. So I get my phone from Alani, and I walk around the corner so she doesn't see me. I call my sister, trying to remain calm, trying to just explain things to her, and I'm just trying to tell her, like, hey, I'm sorry I can't go to Florida with you, because I know we were gonna be packing soon, and we had plans beforehand that day to do things together. And I called her, and as soon as she answered, I was just crying, and I was telling her, like, what they told me and stuff like that. And then she called my mom called me, and then I told her later on when I got home. But yeah, I remember that drive back home was, we were driving back home and Alani was in the back seat. And, you know, after that I was like, hey, like, are you hungry or something like that, just trying to like lighten the mood a little bit, even though like I felt devastated. I took her to like Chipotle across the street, and then we ate, or we were going home to eat. And the drive is about like a 4-minute drive to my house. So we were just driving home. It was very quiet, and I think I had the music on or something, but Alani goes, hey mom, I heard the bad news that the doctor said. But she said, she's like, but I'm not sad because I know you're a great mom. And that little girl has freaking helped me through this experience so much. Just with her humor, just with her being like so kind, and like she understands the situation. But I don't want to put all that on her, so now I don't talk about it with her unless she asks questions like, hey, do you have any appointments, mom? Like, everything okay? And I'll be like, yeah, baby, everything's fine. But at the time, you know, trying to explain to her and hold it together after she said that to me, I was like, you know what, baby, like, thank you. You're the best big sister. And, you know, sometimes babies get shy, and sometimes babies don't want to come out, and you know, sometimes it just happens. That just happens, you know. It's nobody's fault. It's not the baby's fault. It's not the mommy and daddy's fault. It's just sometimes, you know, the babies get shy and they're like, you know what, I don't want to be born. And like, I was trying to explain it in a very friendly way to her, and I was like, but you have a sibling that really wants to meet you. So they're over here kicking around in my belly, and they're telling me that they want to meet you so bad. So maybe, you know, you only have one sibling, and that's okay. And she's like, yeah, no, like, I understand. It's okay, mommy. And it was just a lot that day. It was a lot to take in. And then I get home, I explain everything, and I'm just in tears. I'm just broken down. I sent Alani to her room, and I just break down crying, and it's just a lot. It's just a lot to take in. So the next day, the fetal center calls me, and they set up an appointment for me for the very next day. And I think it was like 7 a.m. Thankfully, you know, technically I'm on vacation, so I actually had dropped Alani off with my sister so she could at least go to Florida and have a good time, and I just needed to figure out what was gonna happen. And so I get a call from the fetal center the very next morning, and they're like, hey, we can get you in as soon as tomorrow at 7 in the morning. And I'm like, great, I'll be there. And this place is about like an hour away. Thankfully, I had this time to kind of heal because technically I was on vacation. I was supposed to be on vacation for about like 6 days. So I had that time off from work. Alani wasn't here, so it was just really me and Edgar being able to just like grieve and talk about things, and, you know, get our mind straight, and you know, just do what was best, and, you know, go over our options and stuff like that. So we had that time to really think about things, and I didn't have to worry about going to work. So it was just, it wasn't a good time, but it was good timing that point, that because I really wouldn't have been able to deal with having to deal with other people, is all I'm trying to say. That's why I wasn't on social media. That's why, you know, it was just completely shut down. So we go to the fetal center, and you know, we were there, I think it was like 7 hours. I forgot how much it was. It's like 6 or 7 hours. We were there for a very, very long time. And I went in thinking like, okay, they're gonna offer me this surgery that my doctor mentioned, and I'll probably be able to do that, but like, we really don't even want to do that right now. Let's see what our other options are. So we get there, they do the testing and stuff like that. It's very, very long. And then we meet with the doctor, and he's nice, but he's like, I don't know, like I feel like every place we went to, the vibe was just off. We never complained because I'm like, okay, this is a professional setting. They don't have to be our freaking family members. They're not gonna wipe our tears. They're not gonna do all that. They're here to tell us, you know, what's going on, and then, you know, that's it. But I feel like the places that we had went to were all just like not friendly. I don't know if it was too much to ask for, but basically you'll understand what I mean when I explain. So we go there and we meet with the doctor, and he diagnoses us with selective intrauterine growth restriction, or SIUGR. There are 3 types. Type 1 is healthy, you know, usually a very high success rate. The baby has a constant blood flow. So baby, you know, your blood is constantly flowing. So type 1 is like the least harmful. It's like, yeah, one's smaller than the other, but they're usually born, and they usually like carry to 30 something weeks. Type 2 is very aggressive, but type 2 is now that I know now, type 2 is when the flow, there are like intermittent pauses, and this means that the baby's like not really getting a lot of blood flow. If I'm not mistaken, type 2 is when there are like a lot of intermittent pauses, so the baby's not getting a lot of blood at all. And this one usually, now I know, after going to other specialists, this is technically the worst type to have, because they're more likely to miscarry. And but type 2 has like a pattern, so they can tell if it's getting worse, better or worse. They can track it. And then type 3 is what we were having, which is basically means that the blood flow type of pattern that the baby A has is only when their heart pumps or like beats, blood comes in. So if their heart isn't working for it, the blood isn't coming in. And so that's very dangerous. They're not having a constant blood flow. And in type 3, it's also like a reverse flow to diastolic flow. I'm not too sure. I should know by as much as I research, but when you have type 3, it's common, and this is what I know now. These people didn't really like explain very well to us, but with type 3, that's going on. So baby's not getting enough blood flow, baby's little, and it's common to have an artery to artery anastomosis, which is basically they have, you know, veins and stuff all over the placenta. They're in separate amniotic sacs, but they share the same placenta because they're identical twins. So they have common veins and stuff like that, but they have a big artery to artery connection. So both of their arteries connect to one another, and basically their blood is like this. It's like pushing against one another, or like this, just pushing against one another. So they explained to me that that's dangerous because once, let's say, the little one passed away, which is what they were explaining to me they think will happen. When the little one passes away, that little, you know, blood, you know, connection that they have, that's just like blood flow pushing against each other. Once this one passes away, the blood from baby B is just going to keep going. It's going to be like a faucet. It's just emptying out blood, and that blood is not coming back. That blood's not being reciprocated. It's not being pushed back into, you know, twin B. So it's basically going to lose too much blood, has a high risk of having a stroke in the womb, and when it's born is probably going to have severe neurological damage, so be brain dead once they're born. And this is what he's explaining to us. So he's going over the options with us. He's like, you can try to carry, but these are your odds. You have a 70+% chance of one of them miscarrying and the other one being brain dead by the time it's it finally comes out, even at like a very early week. He was like, you can just abort both of them, go to Planned Parenthood, you have until 22 weeks to do that. He's like, and we also do selective reductions, which is what my doctor had suggested to us, where they terminate the smaller one and they laser off all connections to them, arteries, I think veins, everything. And you know, at that time he was like, you have a 90+% chance of carrying the little one, the big one, to full term. We didn't want to do that, but we wanted to cut as many losses as possible, so we were more interested in hearing about what he had to say about it. He was like, I highly recommend this, blah blah blah. He's like, but insurance doesn't cover it. And they weren't even going to offer the out-of-pocket cost because it's so expensive. And we're like, no. We waited there for like 2 more hours just to get the out-of-pocket costs of the surgery, just the surgery alone. They're like, this isn't including this, this, and this. And yeah, it was about $15,000. And we would also have to pay a doctor's fee of like $1,200 on top of that. And she was like, and this is the low end. She was like, we can't finalize anything until you schedule that appointment for it. And we were under the impression that we would only have to pay, she was like, what you have to pay is the doctor's fee up front, and which was like $1,200. So I was like, okay, I could do that. And then we were kind of sent home. You know, I was like, even though this is like a medical emergency, like you can't talk to my insurance, you can't do anything. And they're like, no, no, no. So they just really like washed their hands, like, all right, now go home and figure out what you want to do. So we go home, and I just felt like shit. I just remember being in bed like most of the time on my vacation. We were under the impression that we would have to pay, of course, the doctor's fee of $1,200 up front, and then some other type of fees, but we didn't think that we'd have to pay everything up front, like the whole 16, 17, 18. I don't even know how much with all the fees put together. So that was like almost out of the question for us. They didn't expect us to come back and come up with that money. So we got home, and I was just like, damn, like what can we do? Like, we're out of options. You know, they tell us, like, they lay all this shit on us, and then it's just like, now you have to figure out how you're gonna pay for it. And I was just in bed crying all day. Like, I remember spending the whole break like just in bed crying, like my face was very swollen, my eyes are super swollen. My eyes just got better like maybe like a week ago or a few days ago, because they were still kind of swollen for all the crying I was doing. And I'm just like, wow, like we're really out of options. Like in a whole like few days, like everything has changed. Just a few days ago I was thinking that, you know, maybe baby A is just gonna catch up. Baby A's head size is on point, the fingers, the legs, everything is fine. So I'm just like, why? Like, how is this happening to us? How? And I get home, I'm trying to do research, I'm trying to call my insurance, I'm trying to plead, I'm trying to do all these things. And, you know, I finally gave up, and I updated people because people were DMing me and commenting, oh, when's your gender reveal? Did you do your gender reveal yet? Oh, and all this stuff. And so I just put out a statement saying, you know, hey guys. And by this time I had found out the sex of the babies because I asked Edgar. I just wanted to know. At that point I'm just like, you know, we're going through so many things right now. We're not gonna have any parties, we're not gonna do anything surprising. Like, just let me know all the information that I can have right now about these babies. I just need to know all the information I can. I need to do research, I need to do this. Like, just let me know. Just let me know. And so I took it to Twitter and Instagram as well, but I took to Twitter that I was excited to announce that we were expecting identical twin boys. And but we were diagnosed with a condition, and you know, we don't know what's gonna happen because our insurance doesn't cover the fees, and that I was gonna be inactive for a while so I can clear my head. But I just wanted to put that statement out there so I can kind of explain why, you know, when you put your life out here, like do YouTube videos or you're a blogger and stuff like that, and you kind of just go inactive for a while, people notice and people ask questions and all that stuff. So I just wanted to say, you know what, like, we're going through a lot of stuff right now. I'm sorry if I'm inactive for a while, which I ended up being for a while. But I remember so many people telling me, like, what the hell, like, I live in Canada and they would never make me pay for something like this, like, or I live in Europe and, you know, this wouldn't even be an option. I would be in the operating room the next day if I needed this, and they don't make you worry about the financial costs and stuff like that. So I was just like, why is this happening to us? And you know, it wasn't like we wanted to have an abortion. We didn't want to terminate, but when you're going to professionals and they're telling you, yes, like, everyone's telling you, like, these babies are not gonna make it, like, these babies aren't gonna make it, and we're young, you know, we don't have our parents here, we don't, you know, have our family here. I have my sister here, but we don't have, like, everyone here. We just moved to another state where majority of our family lives in California and we live in Texas, and we don't really have anyone here, like, to just, you know, give us that, like, experience, give us, like, what should we do? So we're over here like, okay, yeah, we're telling the doctors, like, okay, like, we're taking your advice because you're professional, so we think that whatever you think is best for us, we want to do. So that's why I ended up making a GoFundMe, because a lot of people are like, please make a GoFundMe, and I wasn't going to. I disappeared for like an hour, or I disappeared for a while from social media, because that's where I was like, no, I'm done. And I went back just to get those, like, kind words, and people were DMing me like, hey girl, if you don't make a GoFundMe, I'm gonna make it for you, just give me your information. And, you know, me and Edgar are not the type of people to ask people, not for handouts, because GoFundMes are very, 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 very helpful, especially for reasons like this, or, you know, people's houses burning down. You know, GoFundMe is not just for, oh, hey, like, I want to go on vacation, like, can somebody help fund that, you know? But we don't, regardless, we don't like asking people for things. I will sell my stuff before, and I have done that before. Like, if I'm going through a rough time, I will sell my stuff before I ask my mom or my sister for money. And it was a lot, but 15,000 is a lot, and I really didn't think we were gonna raise enough. And I was like, you know, even if we don't even reach our goal, like, we're gonna spend this money on our out-of-pocket costs. So I made the GoFundMe, and it actually picked up very, very quick. Not only just the support that we got, like our monetary needs, like, people just reaching out. That was the most to me, from being, like, in bed crying to reading people's stories of, like, hey girl, like, my twins had SIUGR, or you know, I went through this, or I know my story is not the same as yours, but I just want to let you know that everything's okay. Or, you know, hey girl, I've been, like, watching your videos for a long time, and you're a good mom, and this shouldn't be happening to you, but I just want to let you know that I support you, and, you know, what the decisions you make, because I was so scared to share that too. It's like, hey guys, I have to terminate a child, and I know there's a lot of people who are pro-life and stuff like that. So when traumatic things happen to me, I am very much the type of person to just internalize it and keep it in, and I don't want to share anything with anybody. I don't want to share any feelings, because I'm vulnerable. And instead of tearing me down, everyone was so nice, everyone was so helpful, everyone was just sending love, and people are like, I'm crying for you. Like, you know, I don't want to make anyone cry, but just to know that people, like, cared so much just meant everything to me and Edgar and, you know, my whole family. And yeah, so it was just awesome to see, you know, just the words, the messages, just everything. And I was just reading it all day, like, I couldn't stop, and it just made me feel so much better. It made me feel full, made me feel like, you know, kept my mind off of, like, worrying so much. And then yeah, So the GoFundMe took off really well. We didn't meet our goal, but that's okay because we ended up going to another place. So I went back to those specialists for another like checkup, and then they wanted to do an amniocentesis on me just to make sure like the genetics are fine. This is like the most accurate and all that. So I was like, okay. And so I do the amniocentesis, and it's when they take a really big needle and they stick it in your stomach to get the fluid from the amniotic sac and test it for genetic disorders and stuff like that. And they said that they couldn't locate like the nasal bone on the smaller one, so that's why they wanted to do it. And I was like, okay, sounded like okay, like I'll do it. And then I actually had to get it twice. Edgar came with me, and like thank his heart, because I probably would have cried if I was by myself. It hurts so bad, and if you've ever had an amniocentesis, like you'll know. But some people say it doesn't hurt them. Props to you, it hurt. I felt everything, and I had to do it twice because they're twins. I had to do 2 amnios. So they stick this big needle like inside your stomach, and then you could feel every little twist and turn because it goes to all of, you know, your muscles and stuff like that. And like my stomach started feeling like contracting. Oh, it was the worst. I felt like it was burning, and you just feel like it feels like a needle like digging around in your stomach. And I told my boyfriend, I'm like, I could never get stabbed. Like that pain is ridiculous. And it was just a needle. But yeah, everything did come back fine with the amnio. They tested, looked at all the chromosomes. They looked at a picture of them. They said everything looks fine. So they sat me down again, and they're like, all right, so what are your plans? Do you want to do this surgery? We can do it as early as Thursday. And I was like, okay. I'm like, yes. I'm like, I would like to know the cost, like how much I have to pay out of pocket. And of course the doctors don't know that. I'm thinking like, okay, you have to pay like maybe like $7,000 up front or something like that, or I don't know how much. I'm thinking you have to pay like a few thousand up front, you know, doctor's fee, and then like maybe half of it up front, and then they'll bill you the rest. And I'm like, okay, I can handle that. And so they send the billing lady in, and I had already been blowing her phone up. And she just looked pissed at me. Like she just looked like she was done with my shit. I'd called her maybe 2 times asking her like, hey, could you like call my insurance for me, because they never received, you know, they never denied me technically. And she was like, okay, blah blah blah. So she did that, and she never heard back from me. And then I called her again, and then I was like, oh, just wanted to know this, like so I think I had called her twice, and like by that time, like she just looked like she didn't have, like the first time I met her she was nice, second time I met her she just looked like, you're annoying as hell. And she came in and she was like, well, just to let you know, you have to pay everything up front. And I was like, what? I was like, I thought I only had to pay like, you know, a little bit. Like, how would you ask someone to pay $16,000 up front, honey? So I'm like, you know what, I need a second opinion. You know, if they want me to spend all this money doing this surgery and all this stuff, and you know, I just need for sure to know like I need this, and what are my options if there's people who have maybe seen this. Because the way that they're explaining it at my first visit is like, oh, this is super rare, this condition is rare, like, oh, you have all these things going on, you don't just have this condition, you also have the artery to artery, you also have this and this. And they were like, yeah, this is so unpredictable, we don't have anything to base it on, like we don't see much of this. So I'm just like, damn, like let me try to find a place that actually like knows about my condition, because by my Google searches it looks like, you know, there's people who've had it before. And so there's another fetal clinic, and they're awesome. This hospital is like one of the best hospitals in the US, and thankfully we're able to get an appointment with them. And you know, just from straight off the bat, just talking to them on the phone, like we called, and the lady who picked up the phone just happened to pick up the phone thinking it was just like a receptionist or something. She was actually a nurse, and she's like, well, you called the right place, because I actually specialize in that condition. We just had a type 3 right now. She's like, that is so crazy that you said that. And she was like, there was a girl in here with her sister, and me and my sister were like, damn, did we accidentally call the hospital that we're at right now? We're like, ugh. And because we're like, oh, we want a second opinion. And they were like, she was like, yeah, we just saw a girl right now, and she had type 3 and all this stuff. And so I was like, okay. And they're just so nice right off the bat. Like when people say, okay, I'm gonna email you, it's usually like 30 minutes after. No, the second after we got off the phone, I received that email. We just need this, we need your doctors to release this information and blah blah blah. So that was on a Friday. Couldn't get a hold of my doctor because I was already like very late in the day. So I go to my doctor's on that following Monday or Tuesday, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make him transfer me over to these other people instead, because remember he initially sent me to that one fetal center where they were like very like pessimistic, and at that time we were thinking, oh, this is the best information we're gonna get. And so we called the other place and I looked at their website, and they're just much more knowledgeable. They're like, yeah, we see this type of thing. And she stayed on the phone with her like 30 minutes just like speaking to us about like the condition and what they know and all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, I really want to talk to them. I want them to see me. I want a second opinion. So go to my doctor, and he was like, yeah, oh, it looks like it's even worse from last time. The blood flow's gotten worse. The bigger baby's starting to have a restricted blood flow. And I'm like, oh my god, like I need to get something like done quick. So I asked him like, hey, yeah, I went to this fetal center, but I actually have been researching more about this other fetal center, and I was wondering if you can transfer me over to them. And his like whole mood changed, and he's like, what are they gonna do different there? And that's when I knew that he was friends with the people that he was like texting. Like if you're texting them and stuff, I'm like, you're friends with those people. And I just knew, because when I'd go there, they'll be like, oh, you're with Dr. blah blah blah. Okay, like they knew him. So he was probably just trying to give his friends more business by sending me over there. And he was like, yeah, he's like, what are they gonna do different there? And I was like, wow. I was like, well, apparently they do a lot of things differently there. And he was like, okay. He's like, well, let me go ahead and put in a request then, I guess. Hopefully they give you a better opinion that they did at this place. And I'm like, he just pissed me the hell off. So I was like, yeah. And they send my paperwork, and then I set up an appointment and I go. So I go there, meet with them. They're just like the nicest people ever. Like the Chick-fil-A. I keep saying that. I'm like, they're like the Chick-fil-A of hospitals. They're just like the warmest energy. They're so nice, calling me beautiful. They're just like super like warm and nice, just super nice. Like that's all I could, like I did a survey for this hospital because it was such a good experience. And I'm like, this is what I've been looking for, like people who just care, and they would treat you how they would treat their family member if they're diagnosed with a condition like this. That's so like aggressive. And when you're left to be thinking about all these things, they don't send you home just like, okay, well, think about the financial side of it, like, all right, well, nice, see you another day. They're actually like, hey, do you have any questions? You could always call me, like I know this is a hard time. They're super nice there. So all right, I do the ultrasounds, very long. I was there for 4 hours, I think. And baby A, despite him being the little one with the bad blood flow, is so super active, like kicks around. Like they were like, this little sucker. They're like, they thought, he thinks that I had such a good day. I forgot what the ultrasound tech said. She's like, oh yeah, this munchkin knew I had a good week and he's just here to ruin it. Like they were, but not in a mean way. They're just like being funny. And yeah, the little one like will not stay still, and I'm just like, that's so crazy. I've never seen even his brother be that active before. And the other one used to like propel off the amniotic sac, but this one is like back and forth, moving its arms, kicking its legs. Like even when they're like focusing on baby B, you can see little baby A's legs trying to get in the frame, like kicking around, being annoying. And so seeing those types of things throughout the weeks made it very hard for me even to consider getting this reduction, regardless of what the statistics are, regardless of what they're saying. But I knew that I had to make the best decision. So if it came down to that, I would do it if there was no hope, which that's how we felt for a very long time until we got to this hospital. So they do the ultrasound and all that, and then I finally meet with the doctors. And the lady who I had first initially spoke to, the first time I ever called them, ended up being like a coordinator or something. Well, she stays with me, and I talk to her, and she sets my appointments, and she checks up on me and all that stuff. So she came in, I remember, after doing that really long ultrasound, and the ultrasound techs were so cool. We're just talking about other things. Like, they genuinely cared. They wouldn't be like twin A, twin B, which is like, I'm not saying that ultrasound techs that say like, oh, twin A, twin B, like obviously that's what you're supposed to say, but here they just put like a dash on everything. They're just like, oh, this little munchkin, they're like, oh, he moves around too much, but I can't be mad at him, look at that nose. They're like, oh, look at those little fingers, aren't those just the cutest fingers? And they're not being fake, like they're so just nice. And so I was already like chuckling and stuff. In the time where I'm supposed to be nervous, I'm over here like on the bed, like my back hurts, and I'm just like, damn, these women are cool, like I would be their friend. So yeah, we go, and then the nurse comes in, the one that I've been speaking to. She's like, hey, she's like, it's nice to finally meet you, oh my god. And she was saying like, she's like, oh, you're pretty, or something like that. Like they're super cool. And she stayed in there with me, and by the time that the doctor was supposed to come in, so they have the ultrasound techs do all like the extensive ultrasound work, like measurements and stuff like that, and the doctor will come in and look for the key things that they're looking for, like the little discrepancies. And so the doctor comes in, and he comes in with like 2 more people. So at this time I have 6 people in there looking at my ultrasounds, and it's like a whole gang of people like trying to see what's going on. And yeah, they were super nice. They're like, let me know if you need me to stop. They're like, let's put you on your side and all that. And apparently baby A gets rowdy when I lay on my back, so I try to like lay on like my sides more so he could like chill out. And finally they take you to like a counseling room, where the other place are just like, go to this room and then we'll meet you there, and we'll wait for like 30 minutes. There they all waited for me to like, you know, take all the jelly and stuff off my stomach, get dressed, and they all waited for me in the hallway, and they all walked me to the room, all 6 people. Or all, it was his team, it wasn't the ultrasound tech, so it was like 4 people. They all walked me to the room. They were super nice. They went over the statistics, but this time they were more motivated to have me actually deliver the kids, both babies. When I asked about the selective reduction, because I told them, they were asking me a lot of questions too. They're like, what did they tell you here? What is your knowledge of this? And they're like, wow, you're very knowledgeable on the condition that you have. You must be like paying a lot of attention at your appointments. Because they're like, oh, what's the size discordance? And everyone was like, oh, it's and I was like 27%. Like, I know everything. So this doctor, he actually specializes in the type of condition that we have, which is the SIUGR. They also have a like a team of people who research SIUGR at this facility. So they're looking at your ultrasounds as we speak as well. This condition was like first studied or something like in Barcelona, and there's a guy who studied in Barcelona who works at the hospital. So it's just like the best place that I can be right now, and I'm so thankful that we live in Houston right now for us to be able to like access this type of care, because people fly in from other states to go to this hospital, and I'm just so glad that even if it's just an hour away, like I'll do that. That's nothing to me if, you know, we can get the best care. So already then I'm like, all right, now I know the type of care that I'm getting, and I want to hear what they have to say. So asked about the selective reduction, because that's, you know, they're asking me a lot of questions. What did they tell you over here? What are your understandings? So I told them that I was interested in getting the selective reduction because, to my knowledge, that's all that I was basically given. Like those are the highest chances that I was given, and so that's something that we were considering. But I said, if you guys think otherwise, then I will, you know, that's not my main focus. I came here to get a second opinion so that maybe I don't have to get that. This is not what we want to do. It's not like we're trying to get rid of one baby just because we want one. We want both of our kids, but if it doesn't make sense, and if we can do something and intervene now so that it doesn't become an issue later on, like, we'll deal with it, and we're just trying to cut as many losses as possible. And they were so much more like optimistic. And they even told me, they're like, yeah, over there at the other fetal center, they're very pessimistic about things like this. And they were just very personable and talking to me like I was a freaking like friend, or like just a human being, not just someone who's there and, oh yeah, pay all that money, we'll give you the surgery. They actually told me that having a selective reduction in my case is dangerous to both fetuses. Over there they were like, yeah, it's a really good surgery, there's 90+% success rate, like everything will be fine. And which I know statistics, you know, it's not 100% for a reason, but here they were like, no, there are a lot of risks. Their umbilical cords are very close to one another. This laser surgery is what they do also for twin-to-twin transfusion, but that is a completely different area. That is a completely different condition. I don't have that. So when you try to do something that's for one condition, where maybe one baby doesn't have enough fluid, so they can just go in there and it's easy, you know, one twin is like is very like malnourished, they can go in there no problem. So when you try to do it on SIUGR twins, you would have to terminate one of them, because you have to take all the fluid out of their sac, and you would have to do more things. It's just overly complicated. And to add on top of it, my placenta is anterior, which I'm still trying to Google it and have it make more sense. It's very simple. It's either your placenta is in the front or the back, but mine is in the front. And I guess that poses more risks, because they have to, you know, it's just much more maneuvering. And even though, like I said, people fly out from different states to get this surgery here at this hospital, they're telling me that there's too many factors going on in my specific case that they don't want to do this surgery on me, because there's too many risks. And they're telling me as friends, they're not telling me as, oh yeah, let's get you on the table this Thursday, pay everything up front. They're actually telling me, they're not trying to make money, they're not trying to do anything like that. They're actually trying to get the best care. And I've heard so much about this hospital. This is why I wanted to go there, and they're just awesome. They genuinely care about patients. So when they told me that, it was like, all right, like every person I meet, it's like all of my options are just getting shaven down. So what they offered to me was coming every week, coming once a week, maybe soon in like I'm 20 weeks, maybe in 20 something weeks, they think maybe they'll have to admit me into the hospital just so they can monitor me around the clock, make sure that the baby's blood flow is okay. Because like I said, once one of them passes, it immediately affects the other one. And so that's probably what we're gonna end up doing. They want me to carry to at least 28 weeks, which is, I believe, 3 months premature. They have one of the best NICUs, so as long as we can get them to 28 weeks, they said their viability of a fetus is 23 weeks, but at 23 weeks, there's a very low chance that they could survive, especially the smaller one, because he's already had a lack of blood flow, and he's smaller. 23 weeks, usually like a pound, so I can't even imagine how small he would be at that age. Every single day, every single week in the womb counts. So they're trying to push this pregnancy to as far as it can go, but we're just hoping that at least we can get them to 28 weeks, which is very small still, maybe 2 pounds. So our goal is to push to 28 weeks, and, you know, I mean, further than that if possible, but with the way that things are going and how unpredictable type 3 SIUGR is, they're just hoping at least 28 weeks that we can push. So that's our goal, and I agree with them, and that's what we're gonna do. So I don't know what's gonna happen, and that's the toughest part, because it's not something that any of us can control. You know, they told me it's nothing that you could do, you know, on your end. There's nothing that you could do as a mother, as like the person who's carrying these twins. There's nothing that you can do that can better the situation. And usually the situation doesn't get better. It just, you know, it's like every single day I worry, like I hope that they're still okay, like I hope that they're still all right, I hope that they're still in there like fighting, and I hope that little one's still in there like bouncing around being like crazy. And that's what's on my mind every single day. And it's really just like a ticking time, not a ticking time bomb, it's just like every single day is precious to me. So yeah, that's gonna be our plan. I'm 20 weeks right now, so just 2 more months. I just hope that 2 more months, you know, they could still keep fighting. They didn't even think that baby A was gonna be here beyond like 9 or 10 weeks, and we're 20 weeks in and he's still over here kicking my butt in the placenta. So I just hope that we can make it to 28 weeks, and I think we can. I really do. It's just scary, and it's very easy to get discouraged in this situation because you see healthy pregnancies every day, and coming from, you know, being a teen parent and thinking that those would be the most complications that I would have, to be able to carry a baby to full term and have no health issues. And now this time, you know, I feel like we're a bit more ready, and now like we're just scared for our lives, and it's just very difficult. But I've gone through the crying, I've gone through the anxiety attacks, the not being able to go to sleep by myself, just hanging out in Alani's room just to talk to someone because I can't be alone. Like I've gotten past this point, and I've been able to find like some type of peace. You know, not everything is in the clear. If anything, this is probably the most anxious part of my pregnancy. But if I'm over here stressing, if I'm over here crying and being all this, you know, it's not going to do anything better for them. They're just going to be stressing out. So, you know, I'm staying positive. I'm watching a lot of comedies. I'm you know, doing things that I wasn't doing before because I need to be healthy and able to keep them all right. Even though, you know, they say like there's nothing you could eat, you can't just change your whole diet and everything's gonna be okay. But you know, I'm doing all that I can, and sometimes it's just being positive, sometimes it's just trying to put that positivity into the universe, hoping that the universe will treat you back. And that's what we're doing. So 2 months doesn't seem very long, but it seems like it's gonna feel like a year because every day counts. So I just wanted to update everybody, and yeah, I'm gonna try to keep posting. You know, it's gonna be a very emotional journey, and I'm being very vulnerable because it's scary when you don't know what's gonna happen. And you know, I could be sharing everything with you guys, and one day, you know, I have really bad news, or maybe one day I have really amazing news. So I just don't know. But I want to be very open, I want to be transparent, and yeah, so that's basically what's been going on. This video was a lot and it was very long, but I know there are people out there who support us and love us and have been wondering where the hell I've been, and I just wanted to get that out in the open. I know, you know, putting my situation out like this, even though all I want to do is just take all this information and just lay in a ball and just wait and hold all of this information till the next 2 months, it's not fair. And I want to be transparent with everyone, and I want to keep updating you guys because so many people cared that I was just pregnant, you know, like coming out and saying that I was pregnant. People were like, I'm so happy for you, I'm so excited for Alani. And so I want to share this experience with you guys, and this is just real, this is just real life. You know, I can't act like everything's okay. I can't act like, oh yeah, I have this perfect pregnancy and oh, I'm glowing and stuff like that, when really, like, I'm scared and I don't know what's gonna happen. But all I can do, and I just keep saying it because that's all I can hold on to, is just positivity. So, but I wanted to thank everyone for their support and their love, and you know, just following, you know, us through this journey. We don't know where it's gonna take us, but there's no room to be sad or be pessimistic or angry or, you know, any of those negative emotions. We're just going to be positive from now on. And yeah. And, you know, if you've been through something similar like this, definitely, you know, you could always reach out to me, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for watching this video, guys. I know it was very long, but I hope this explained, you know, a lot of things that maybe people are wondering, especially why I haven't posted. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video.